fellow Berlin enthusiasts. Welcome to the Green Me Berlin podcast. This is where I go out and chat to Berlin's coolest creators, founders, and free spirits of all those unique eco-minded projects in the capital. I do my very best to extract their stories, secrets, and passions to help you get lots and lots of inspiration of what you can do and experience in this magical city, and how we can all shake the world a little bit. Super glad to have you with me on this journey. Now let's go green in this urban jungle, and remember, always be prepared to be amazed. Hey guys, what's up? The hour has arrived. You are about to listen to another hopefully change-making episode of the Green Me Berlin podcast. But before I start, I gotta share something with you. Originally, I set out to do this episode with 2 interview guests and focus on 2 things, which is 1, the open source circular economy days happening next week here in Berlin, and 2, and in my head, this was meant to be the major theme, the circular house, formerly known as Agora Rollberg, which is a creative, collaborative community of changemakers that is really transforming an abandoned 2,200 square meter warehouse into Berlin's ground zero in all things circular economy. It's home to a collective of artists, makers, entrepreneurs, hackers, designers, developers, activists, startups. So a freaking exciting place. But then suddenly things changed a bit, and due to some unforeseen circumstances, my circular house interview partner unfortunately couldn't make it. And that threw me out of concept a little bit, I have to say. I knew the OSCEdays are a super cool event where I also definitely go to and be part of, actually. So I 100% wanted to talk about them too. But I actually wanted to introduce you guys more to the space itself. Yeah, and then I thought, man, what to do? Should I cancel? Should I stay? And finally I decided that I just didn't want to let you guys down by not releasing a new episode. And I surely didn't want to let Lars from the OSCEdays down, who took his time during a really, really super busy period for him. And you know what? Okay. Things didn't go as planned, but it really opened up another door, one which I maybe would have never opened otherwise. It showed me once again that always being open-minded is so important. The word open will also play a hugely important role now in today's episode, as we'll be exploring the concept behind open source circular economy. You know, the circular economy part of that topic grabbed my attention a while ago, in a sense of we're in a throwaway society and there's so much stuff already produced out there in the world that we don't even need or use. So what are creative ways to reuse, reduce, recycle? But the open source part, to be honest, before I talked to Lars, the whole idea sounded really interesting, but was still kind of abstract in my mind. But Lars really managed to change that. And I'm super grateful and excited how this interview turned out. And I hope that it'll do the same to you and really spur your curiosity for the future. And just to give you a quick overview of the OSCEdays, I think these guys are really creating a future here. Throughout 4 days, from the 29th of June to the 2nd of July, they'll explore how a city without waste would look like. That includes one of my favorite topics, food. Plus, it's about zero waste consumption in general, about upcycling fashion, circular design, architecture, and so on. The program is full of panels, talks, and hands-on workshops on issues like package-free shopping, growing your own mushrooms on waste, compost worms, dyeing clothes with leftover food, making your own soaps from old frying fat. I know that one sounds weird. And so much more. There's going to be some of my favorite projects in the city participating, like Milena Glimbowski from Original Unverpackt, the Guerilla Architects with their MehrWert Zero Waste restaurant, the Tempelhof community garden, Allemende-Kontor, the guys from Restlos Glücklich, the passionate team of Isla Coffee, and. Now, very quickly about Lars, and then we really start. Lars is an absolute crack in the area of both open source, and circular economy. He's an artist and an economist. It's such an unusual combination, isn't it? He develops projects like the Open Source Circular Economy Days, but also many more. He consults companies and NGOs, he does public speaking, and he also blogs and publishes articles and books and journals. There's heaps and heaps of things going on with this man, and I'll throw you a link to his website into the show notes, so take a look. And the way he looks at the world and understands the way things work are just super fascinating. Listening back in, I have tons of more questions, but luckily Lars and his team are putting on the OSCEdays that will surely give me an answer to many of them. It'll be great to see you guys there too. And I got something for you. The OSCE team was super nice and gave me 5 free tickets for the event for you. I'm also putting the link to them into the show notes, so it'll be a first come, first serve. If you want to do me a little favor in return though, then hop over to iTunes and leave me a very short review. Just tell me how you like the show. That'll make me super happy. But it's no condition to get the free tickets. As I said, I'm putting the link out there and whoever is quickest wins. Man, thanks so much for bearing with me here. I think that was like the longest intro I ever did. So now, finally, without any further ado, let's get OSCEdays hero Lars Zimmermann in front of the mic. Warm welcome, Lars. Awesome to be sitting here with you.
Hello.
Really cool to have you on the show. Let's dive straight in. So for some of the listeners out there who are not yet familiar with the whole idea of circular economy, could you give us a quick explanation, Lars? What are major principles and like what's the most important thing to remember about it?
Okay. I mean, circular economy has the word economy in it, and please try someone to get you explain what economy is. So economy is basically everything. So circular economy tries to say something about basically everything. But maybe you can shrink it down. It starts with a diagnosis that our current economy is run mostly linear. This means we take resources out of the ground, then we transform it into some products we use for a while, many of them not for a very long time, and then we throw them away and they become garbage. And this garbage often gets burned or digged into the ground. And so this doesn't sound like a very sustainable economy, because at some point there we will meet some resource shortages, and then we might even run out of resources. So the circular economy says, hey, let's reinvent the system and make it circular. So instead throwing away the products at the end of their life, try to make products that can be easily repaired or that have parts that can be won back and reused in other products. And if none of these repairing, reusing or refurbishing works anymore, let's have products that are very easy to recycle. So let's just pick materials that are recyclable and combine them in a way that it's easy to separate them from another and properly recycle them. So that would be an economy that doesn't run out of resources because everything cycles permanently.
Whew, that sounds like a really big topic, but of course it sounds also pretty exciting, because you're right. I mean, there's so many, I think more and more people out there also realize that there's so much stuff in our world that is being produced that we actually don't really need at all, and it's just becoming useless. It becomes thrown away. But even though it's like the material itself, it's definitely worth to live on and to be turned into something new, maybe a new object, completely different. So basically, yeah, what I also always understand from it is that it encompasses like lots of different aspects of our daily lives. It's linked to food, basically new ways of how we consume and grow our food. It's linked to fashion, it's linked to arts, it's linked to design. It's also, I think, linked to kind of disrupting the old school finance sector a little bit. It's revolutionizing basically all the ways we produce and live and consume and what we make out of it. Personally, what topic are you most passionate about? What aspect of it?
Oh, that's a good question. Maybe I'm interested in the products, how a circular product will look like and how I will interact with a circular product. I mean, basically we are surrounded by products right now that addresses us as consumers. So we can look at them, we can see how beautiful they are, or maybe they aren't beautiful, and we can just use them and then throw them away. But in the circular economy, maybe these products have to communicate something else. If they are really easy to repair, how will they communicate this to me? If they are easy to refurbish, how will they communicate this to me? If they are easy to recycle, how will they communicate with me or other products or with the manufacturers? And I think that for a circular economy, this bundle of communication methodologies will be a different bundle. And I'm interested in this new bundle.
Okay.
Maybe that's a bit abstract.
Yes,
Sorry.
yes. I have to say, like, for me, it's really hard to really grasp it.
I mean, maybe one simple example. If you take the Tetra Pak, you know, the Tetra Pak is a beautiful designed product because it's very robust, it's very light, it's super powerful, but it's made out of different components. It's made from there's plastics inside, there's aluminium, and there's paper, in a very strange mixture. So it's impossible to recycle it really properly. It would take so much work and so much energy to really separate all these parts from another and turn them into new products of the same quality. So how would a Tetra Pak that is easy to recycle look like? And first of all, it probably needs to be designed differently. And maybe if you put a lot of research into this, then we can maybe get a Tetra Pak that looks very similar to the ones we are used to now, but that is recyclable. But how will this Tetra Pak then communicate to the people who will have the Tetra Pak in their hands as trash? What kind of materials are in the Tetra Pak and what's the proper way to separate these materials and what's the proper way to recycle them and put them back into production. So it will be a different product then, also in terms of what communicates it to the people that are using it or reproducing it.
Yeah, right. I'm kind of really curious to know now, like, what is your background, Lars? I mean, how did you actually get engaged in the whole topic and then eventually also with the OSCEdays?
I'm interested as an artist. I'm an artist.
You're an artist, all right.
I'm an artist and economist.
Oh, interesting. Yeah. Oh, wow, that's an interesting mix. Explain.
Okay. Yeah, I'm interested as an artist in the question, is the world changeable? So basically my work is some kind of research in the changeability of the world. And then it's very easy to say that almost everything in the world is part of economy. So let's look at economy. And is it possible to change the economy? So basically that's how I got into this topic, because in circular economy this asks for a change that looks from some perspectives like a really urgent and really necessary change. So maybe there's some energy there to really make progress in that direction. And that's how I got interested in sustainability or circular economy. And then there's this huge openness part in my work. So I'm really interested in open source methodologies. And that comes basically from the internet. I think the internet is still a very new thing in the world. It can be used for so many ways, and we are just about to explore one way. And one of the other ways, it's really that it's will enable whole new patterns of collaboration, probably based on much more on transparency. one example I always like to give is, imagine you have the building plans of a Mercedes-Benz built in the year of 2017, printed in books. It's probably a whole truck full of books. And then imagine you print these books and then you want to deliver it to every library on the planet. Up on high mountains, small libraries, there should be one of these building plans. It's already impossible. But then imagine that in one of those libraries, some nerd goes in and reads book number 340, and on page 56, he sees something, I have an idea how to improve this. And then he writes a little letter and he sends it back to the main quarter of Mercedes-Benz to Stuttgart. And then the engineers there read and think, that's right, that's a good idea. Let's implement it in our building plans. And then they print this book and deliver it back to all the libraries and so on and so on. It's really impossible to manage this if you have to print information in books. But with the internet, this building plan, the whole building plan, can be available everywhere on the planet. And I think that enables a whole new level of collaboration based on transparency. We haven't developed this methodology very well. It's developed in the world of software that started with basically with this opportunity to send software across the globe. So they developed these patterns, but in all the other areas where we produce physical products, it's still a riddle how to use this transparency and don't get problems with the business models and the business collaboration methodologies we are so used to and we developed to very high standards in the past 200 years. So this shift will probably take a while, but there is this force that transparency can enable a new level of network effect, for example, for products. And I'm interested in bringing those two worlds together, the opportunities of the of open collaboration through the internet and the questions and ideas of the circular economy, because they look like the perfect combination.
Yeah, cool. Yeah, I mean, I'm totally with you there in believing in the power and the possibilities that we have through the internet. I mean, I know there's lots of people out there who kind of critical about it and stuff, and of course it's a huge thing, and it's a kind of, I don't know, it can be dangerous if used in the wrong way, but like for me it's like, I don't know, it gives us all so much opportunity to kind of co-create our world and our future. Like really every single person can make an impact, and that's what really, really excites me too. So yeah, really, really with you there. Now let's talk about the OSCEdays a little bit. I mean, what role is yours exactly? Is it basically for Berlin or like in the whole network?
Basically, what the agenda of the OSCEdays I described already. You know that open source seems like the perfect methodology to develop the collaboration and methodologies and the products for the circular economy. And this is really, it's a beautiful but tough question, or hard question. And in 2014 there was a small group of people sitting together, including me, then Alice Grindhammer, who's running also here the space we are sitting in, the Circular Lab, or former Agora Rollberg, then a guy from France, his name is Timothy Gozlan, and another guy from Berlin named Max. And we said, hey, that's a question, but why is no one asking this question? Let's ask this question. And we decided with the help of 3 other people that were part of the whole movement from the start, Erica Purvis, Sharon Pontville, and Sam Muirhead, to create a global hackathon. At that time, global events were just a big and new and interesting thing, and we said, okay, let's use that format to plant this question in the global discourse. And we set up a platform, and we invited people across the globe to put up small events dedicated to explore this question of open source for circular economy. And in the first year, 33 cities signed up to do this, or groups in 33 cities. And in the second year, we chatted with 72 people that in the end said they want to do this. And Berlin traditionally is one of the biggest events. I mean, really some core members of also the global team are based here in
All
Berlin.
right.
And that's the reason here's a lot of energy. We have an exciting community in Berlin of people that are still really interested in going for high risk in order to explore something really new but interesting. And yeah, so that's why Open Source Circular Economy Days Berlin is maybe one of the leading events in the OSCEdays global realm.
That's really, really cool. And I mean, wow, I mean, like, over 70 cities, that's a huge thing. Also from the first year to the next one, it's been more than doubled. Do you already have any idea about the stats so far this year? Like how many years signed up, or can you always just say when it's done?
Yeah, we learned a lot in the past 2 years. First of all, I don't think that in all the 72 cities really events
Right, okay.
happened.
So you just stand up and
But then I think most of them learned how difficult it is to create a really good event on open source and circular economy because it's tough. And so I think a lot of them failed or lost interest when they learned how difficult this is. And also for us as a global team, we learned that this question is on the ground much harder to explore than just to ask this question.
Right.
So we learned this, and that's the reason we changed a little bit the global project. We wanted to shrink it down again to really get quality in this and maybe one day get growth from there again. So the global event this year was, I think, 30 cities and so or so.
Still a lot. I mean, if these guys are then really like engaged and putting up something. Yeah. And
that's probably better. And that's also here in Berlin, we are focusing really more on delivering good examples. Because the circular economy is naturally a buzzword. This means it's very ambiguous. No one really knows what it means.
Yeah, exactly.
It's part of a political debate. And of course, how are we supposed to know what a circular economy looks like? We are so far away from it. So we already had this buzzword, and if you have buzzwords, then you get a lot of post-its on your wall and a lot of post-it people, and that's okay. It's nothing wrong with that, but that doesn't really help to make progress with real examples.
I guess so.
And then for most of them, it was difficult to understand what's this open source thing. Sounds interesting, but it sounds techy. Sounds like something from a weird, far away community, something elite, exclusive, and so on. And we didn't know that also in the beginning, that it would be so difficult for people to understand what open source is about. And so we are focusing this year here in Berlin really more on having practical examples you can see and touch, that you can understand this with your hand and with your body, and not just from a discussion about a vague thing.
Exactly. That's also what really drew my attention, I think, this year a lot, because I think I looked it up last year and I also wasn't quite sure, like, is it something, can I go, whatever. But now there's heaps of workshops and talks, and especially if you have no clue about like what that is yet, and you really want to learn about circular economy and open source combined, then it's just like this year it just looks like the perfect moment and the perfect time to go. Just like about the program, can you just like when people come here, what can they expect in those? Is it 4 days, 5 days?
4 days.
4 days, yes.
4 days. As you said, we have everything. We have basically 5 formats. We have talks, we have panels, then we have workshops. A workshop is everyone knows workshops. You go there and there's one person or two persons that really take some time to teach you something. For example, we will have a workshop where you can learn how to grow mushrooms on almost everything.
All right.
So really mushrooms you can eat afterwards.
All right.
On paper and so on. Mushrooms are really good in recycling and filtering out toxins and so on.
That's an exciting one. I'd definitely go there. Do you have a few more examples?
Yeah, and then we have challenges. Challenge, it's the format we start with. And this is basically, if you have a project or a company and you encounter a question that is really hard for you to solve, then bring it here and just plant it and invite people to brainstorm and work on your challenge with you. Last year, for example, we had one from our local waste. What is the BSR? How would you say?
Oh, yeah.
A company that deals with waste.
Yes, exactly. In Orange. colors.
And a beautiful orange dress, yeah. And they had a challenge about, they have tons and tons of wood almost every day. There's so much wood coming as garbage, and what to do with all this wood. This was one of the challenges they had. And right now, at this very moment, one of the challenges we have here in Berlin will be to design a board game to find out how to make a change, circular change in the city. Another challenge we have here, we have a new and dedicated group that wants to create a map of circular stakeholders in the city here in Berlin. And their challenge will be about two things. First of all, design a definition of what kind of organization goes to the map and what not. So what qualifies you to be a circular stakeholder in the city, which I think is really, really interesting.
That's a really interesting one, definitely,
that will really help. And the other challenge they will face is what kind of technology to use for this map. And they will bring this challenge, invite people, and try to make some progress.
That's a really good one. I like that. Yeah, I mean, it's really like, as you say, it's sometimes not so easy to define, but it's funny because I'm actually myself running a tour soon on the 13th of July with one of the residents here in the Circular House with the Green Fashion Tours girls, with Ari. And we are running a circular economy tour, but without the open source this time. And then it was also, okay, how do we define it? How do we pick it? And I mean, what we defined as it is like very lifestyle-y topics, and they're really approachable. So it's like from fashion, from product design to food, cooking with surplus food that also counted into there for us. But yeah, so we basically then we looked here in Neukölln, because we're going to do it in Neukölln, and what is there, and it's actually quite a lot once you open your eyes and once you start grasping the concept and see what possibilities are out there. That's actually really cool. But that map, of course, would be really helpful. Yeah,
and the definition, I mean, the map can be so many things. I also like this very much, because who's a circular stakeholder? Circular economy has economy in it, so basically everyone is a stakeholder of the economy. So, but does your kindergarten already qualifies as a circular stakeholder if you separate the trash, if you have a bio-waste trash bin in your backyard? I mean, maybe not. Maybe this definition can really help to encourage people to do more, if this definition really gives them an opportunity to jump on the map, and if the map is communicated in a way that they want to be on that map.
That's a good idea.
Really, the definition will basically frame how useful this map will be, or what kind of work you can do with this map. So that's really a beautiful challenge.
Yeah, that's great.
And regarding the open source part, maybe I should mention there will be a workshop on open source business models, because that's always the question people ask when it comes to open source. And there will also be a workshop by Sam Muirhead on open source documentation. So not only how to document, but really why to document, and what kind of ecosystem to build through your documentation and so on.
All right.
So you can really learn stuff regarding open source. And if you are in sustainability and you want to learn if this is a methodology that can help you make progress with your project, then come here and learn about open source. But I wasn't done explaining all the formats, because we have one more format.
Oh yeah.
Which is my favorite format next to the challenges, and that's assemblies. Assemblies. Okay. We got this word from the very great Chaos Communication Congress, and they have assemblies. These are basically tables where people sit and hang out and build stuff, and you can go there and see what they are building. Look over their shoulder, ask them questions, start to build it with them, and so on. And we have a bunch of those assemblies here. For example, one about circular street art. Where you can really reinvent how street art will look like, and how street art can help us to invent a circular city. This is by Max Schütze, this challenge, and all the works that are created here at the event will really be planted in a street in Neukölln, in a permanent installation and exhibition. Or we have another assembly where someone is just building a dome after Buckminster Fuller. We have one from Material Mafia, where they will build chairs from from reused materials.
Yeah, they're cool. Awesome.
And a bunch more. It's really, really interesting to look in this program.
Yeah, lots of hands-on it sounds like as well, right?
That's what we are going for, that you really can understand with your hands.
It's really awesome. I think this is exactly the right approach because just talking about it, that doesn't really change anything, or that doesn't really go across a certain circle of people who already know all about it anyway. It's in a complex thing like this, you have to bring it to the people and to their everyday lives and things that they can engage with and just learn by doing. That's awesome. Yeah. It's really, really cool.
Maybe one last assembly to give you an example. It's because it's for me, and I developed a lamp, and this is an open source lamp, and it's completely circular because it's made only from standard parts you can buy everywhere. It's just assembles standard parts, and it's all the parts you can win back easily and use for something else, because all of them were made initially to be used in something else. And in this assembly you can go there and disassemble the lamp, and then you can hack it. You can use the same parts because they are all modular, and you're invited to create a new lamp or something entirely else out of this. And then Clemens, who will facilitate the workshop, will take a picture, dismantle everything, and then will come the next person and create a new iteration of the lamp or whatever, always from the same parts. You can really experience modularity and hackable environments that don't become garbage after you don't need a lamp anymore, because there are resources for all kinds of other products.
That's super, super cool. Really, really interesting. But the event is basically, it's open to everyone, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, cool. I also find it pretty cool that just on the website I saw that the people who live in the neighborhood, they can come completely for free. I found that really cool that you kind of try to really make this bridge as well with this neighborhood here, because usually when in Berlin you have spaces with very unconventional and forward and future thinking ideas, and people are a bit scared what is going to happen here, especially in a neighborhood like here. So I think it's a really, really cool approach. And is it still possible? I know that like people also could just, if they have an idea or if they think they have something that's related to circular economy that they want to contribute, I know they could submit ideas and kind of shape the program. Is it still possible, or is it closed by now?
No, it's still possible.
All right.
And if you, I would like to explain very briefly how this goes. If you want to contribute something to the program, you will receive a free ticket. So there's your incentive. You post it on our forum. Usually if you go to a conference and you contribute something, you send the organizers an email and some images, and then they put it up on their beautiful designed website. We have a different approach. We have a forum, and there you can post your challenge or your assembly and so on. And that's how you become part of the program. The advantage of this is that you will still have control about this posting. You can go there whenever you want and make changes and add new information and so on. But it also allows for people to ask questions right under your topic. And some of these topics have become over time they turned into some resource base that are really useful also after years. And that's what we are trying to get to with this approach, that some of these topics people create will really help people to make progress also in 3 or 4 years.
Yeah.
So please go there and post something. But you can also come here at our event and spontaneously, if you have an idea or you encounter a question, you can just write it to the wall, invite people to work with you on it, and do it right away. We will have here materials and all kinds of stuff. And another thing, we will do this here to encourage this. We have some panel discussions with experts, for example, one on circular buildings and one on circular making. And we want that these experts on stage don't deliver their talking points. We want them to collaborate on stage, because the goal is that they develop together one question that is like a challenge.
Okay.
So they need to share their viewpoints in order to reach a question they all think is interesting and necessary to answer. And this question then basically is a new challenge everyone can start to pick up here and work on.
Oh my gosh, that sounds like such a cool format. Like I'm really, really excited about it. I'm probably actually gonna give a little workshop too about the power of face-to-face and how to get people excited about your project. But because somehow this is something that some projects, there are really great ideas out there, but some people just can't really get their excitement out there. So I'm pretty looking forward to that and to kind of be part of that. It's probably going to be on the 1st of July, so swing by. I'd be super happy to see you. And yeah.
I really like that you do this, because I think you are absolutely right. I've seen so many people that have good ideas for sustainability, for sustainable change, but they're really not good at communication, and that's a problem.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, especially like if you come from the tech world or so, or maybe like, I don't know, you're an artist and you're usually kind of used to do things on your own and create them alone, and of course it's a challenge to suddenly be in front of this person and explain that idea so that they get it, and that they also see, hey, this person has really lots and lots of passion for it. So even if I maybe don't get it straight away, you convince me.
Yeah. And I would also like to listen at this event and on your viewpoint, because my secret agenda for this year's event is I call it complexity, because we're living in the age of Donald Trump, and everyone is trying to figure out what happened there and why is this happening. And one thing we learned from this is that people are biased a lot, and that a lot of people aren't very they aren't good at dealing with complexity, let's say this. But sustainability is complexity. There are 11 dimensions of sustainability. Not even sustainable researchers will be able to name all of them immediately, you know?
No, you're right.
And the second thing why I think it's super interesting, because we see so many people that are excited, they have an idea how to make sustainable change, then work on that idea for some time, and then they stop. And people usually say they stop because they didn't manage to get an income with that, and then they needed to make some money or whatever. But I think that's not necessarily answered.
Man, I mean, I definitely have a lot of things to say about both of these things. Just maybe very quickly about the complexity is that I think that complexity is an issue as such that people tend to get overwhelmed by it and get paralyzed and think like, oh, I don't know where to start, and this is all too complicated because if I do A, then B doesn't work, and I think it's just so important actually to simplify it a bit, or to focus on that one part that you believe in most, that you are passionate about most, and then follow that. And then for me, the circle closes itself, because once you're really safe in that one thing and you realize that what you do actually makes a change and that it does make sense, then you can move on to the next part and the next part and the next part. Sometimes it's a bit hard, of course, but if we're always just looking at the whole thing, that I think that a lot of especially just people who do things on their own, they can get really overwhelmed and paralyzed by that, my experience. Yeah, all right. Yeah, I think we have to hurry up a little bit. So let me just switch quickly direction. Just talk very briefly about actually Berlin. You already mentioned it before, but I mean, this is a place that we all love and where the scene is thriving. And I'd just be curious to know, like, what impact would you say has the city Berlin and people and the lifestyle in making something like the OSCEdays possible here and thrive?
There are two answers. I think the first one is we are really one of the freest city in the world, and I think you can really experience that when you go through this city and when you go through other cities. I mean, people do the craziest shit here on the street and no one cares. Yeah. And that's so beautiful about this city. So this encouraged risk-taking. And then there was another thing in the city that's now almost gone completely. And that to survive in Berlin is really easy because the rents were really low and there were so much opportunities. So if you took on a project and you failed, then that wasn't a problem. You could still have a really great life. You could still have beautiful friends and nice and have your beer and hang out in the sun and enjoy just an awesome life. Although your project failed, and this encouraged risk taking. And if you really want to do something that is that does change, this means you go on you go out on a quest, and it's very unlikely that you will survive. So you take risks. So we had a city that encouraged risk takers, and I think something like the OSCEdays, so much energy for this global project comes here out of Berlin because of that, because it's possible for people here, for me, for example, to take this risk. But this now is almost gone, and I'm not sure what comes next.
Yeah, you're right. I mean, definitely, but definitely what I think is amazing is that Berliners, or also the global scene that comes to Berlin, that makes Berlin, they really stick to this energy and to this vibe, even though of course times are changing and you will have to work a little bit harder, but still, like, I don't know, I spoke to an artist in Neukölln the other day. She comes from San Francisco, and she was like, oh, I couldn't do what I wanted to do there, but here it's possible. So it still is, I think, for us for Berliners, we have to adjust much more, and it's becoming much harder, whereas it's of course still attracting heaps of people from other places in the world where the difference is much higher, and they bring in their ideas again. So I think it's still not over. I think it's still kind of ways and chances to continue, because this is also what makes this city, basically. But yeah, of course, you're totally right. There are much higher barriers, and the risk is getting a little bit higher. What is exciting though is that everything is kind of moving a bit outside now, like towards areas like Oberschöneweide or so. That's also an interesting one to look at, I think, in the future.
Yeah, I mean, I really don't like the people that say, oh, Berlin was so cool 5 years ago, and now it's just not my Berlin anymore, and I really hate them. But since a year now, I can really see, okay, there's something is skipped. For example, my favorite example is what's super important for creative people is that you have Baulücken. How would you say this in English? You have a building, and there's no building, and there's the next building. So there is just no building where there's space for a building.
Yeah.
And we have had a lot of this in Berlin in the 90s, and it's crazy, because if there's nothing, then it's a question, and questions is what creative people find attractive and think about. That's so amazing about Tempelhofer Feld.
Yeah.
Especially when it was new. Everyone enjoyed to just go there and try to come up with a cool idea what to do with this space. But now all these spaces are filled. I lived in Berlin Mitte for the past 5 years, and in my street there was 5 of these Baulückens. Now all of them are gone.
Yeah.
And that's really sad. These things make a creative city, but they're really vanishing.
That's true, they're vanishing, but somehow they always pop up in new places again, like also the circular house here, you know? I mean, it always finds a way. It finds a way. Also, as I said, I think we have to kind of maybe then go a bit further east, for example, and so on. There's, like, if you follow the Spree towards the east, my gosh, there's so many really still very exciting spaces, old relics from GDR times and all that. So yeah, I think there's still lots of possibility, and you guys are really the best proof here with coming to this circular house and putting all those events up, and really, I mean, creating kind of a platform here for bringing all this creativity and people who really want to change something and who have unconventional ideas, just bring them all together under one roof, and with 4 days of exciting program and learning and exchanging and all that. So, man, I would have so many more questions, but we slowly have to come towards the final bit, which is, as some of you listeners out there might know, the part where I ask the same 4 things to all of my interview guests, which is number 1. On your journey and during your involvement with the OSCEdays, but also in general, what was your biggest learning so far?
Yeah, basically I'm in this for learnings, so there have been so many and I can't pick a favorite one. But maybe that I have a better understanding now of how buzzwords work and what you can do with them and what problems they have. I love this lesson, and I share this in some of my talks because I love it so much at the moment, is that in politics you have ambiguity is a really important factor. You need words that mean nothing because they work like platform. Everyone can use these words like Industry 4.0 or smart city or circular economy or also maker movement. They don't mean anything, so everyone can just say them and mean something different, but then all these people talk at least with each other, and then slowly in the political process a definition is found, and this is an important process, and we are in that process at the moment, and I have a better, I knew this in theory before, but now I have a better grasp on it, how this works in the inner functions.
That's a really interesting one. I mean, yeah, I wish someone would come up with a new buzzword or a new cooler sounding word for sustainability. Because I mean, in German it's okay, in English it's okay, but in German, Nachhaltigkeit, it doesn't really sound like, yeah, let's do this. Somehow I'm always looking for this one kind of cool sounding word. I think circular economy has better chances there. All right, second question. If you could change one thing in Berlin overnight within the next 24 hours, what would that be?
Really the rent problem. There should be a law that just prevents rents from going up. And then, so we have the really informal structures that would then, because if money doesn't buy you into a flat, what does then its network? And this would mean that these informal structures would probably strengthen the existing networks in the city. So the Turkish community would be really good to just give away flats to the Turkish community. Our hipster, world changer, whatever communities would be good in helping each other to find a flat. So this would maybe help that the city stays as it is for a little bit longer. So really just say cut. No one is allowed to increase rent anymore.
Yeah, awesome, cool one. I guess many people out there agree with you on that. All right, number 3. What question should I have asked you but didn't?
I would just skip that one.
Okay.
We have so much. I said so much already.
We talked about a lot of things. That's true. All right, then final question is: if there was one thing you could pass on to the Green Berlin community, like to the listeners out there, what would it be?
Yeah, really. Google for open source, then read something about it, and then digest it, and then go back and Google again, and really try to find out what does this mean, and how you can make it, how you can use it for your work. And I'm sure some smart people will find ways, and those will probably, or maybe really make impact with sustainability.
Yeah.
It's a tough nut to crack, but throw your brain on it, and if there are enough brains on it, then maybe the nut will crack.
Yeah, all right. Yeah, I think that's a good way to finish. I mean, this is the basis. Google what it means, and then, of course, come to the Open Source Circular Economy Days from the 29th of June to the 2nd of July. And then you can actually see and feel and experience with your own eyes and mind and brain how things work. All right, Lars, high five. It's been such a pleasure to talk to you and get the word out. I think we all can learn a lot from each other and really push humanity forward if we connect and work together. And you and the team are really creating a platform to make it happen. So thanks so much, and I'll see you at the OSCEdays next week.
Yeah, thank you.
All right. All right, my friends. I know this was a lot of input, and I'm sure your head is just bursting of new ideas and inspiration and lots of exciting thoughts about our world now. So I'm just gonna keep it super short and simple this time for the outro. I just wanted to let you know again that if you want to get a first insight and learn how a zero waste approach is put into practice in food, fashion, bikes, architecture, design, then come with me and Ari from the Green Fashion Tours, as we're doing a circular economy tour and dinner on the 13th of July. It will be such an exciting evening, so please come and join. And don't forget, there's 5 free tickets for the OSCEdays up for grabs, so just follow the link and be quick, and I hope to see you there. Bye bye, and as always, remember to keep it green!